dim, taka dim, ta dim, dam, taragada, taka taka dim, ta dim, ta, taka dim, ta dim, dam, taragada, taka dim, ta dim, ta, dim, taka dim, ta dim, ta, taragada, taka dim, tu ta. Takadim, tadim, da, taragadim, taketa, takadim, da, dim, takadim, kataketa, taragadim, taketa, takadim, kataketa, takadim, taketa, taketa, taragadim, taketa, takadim, takataketa, dim, takadim, takataketa, taragadim, taketa, takadim, takataketa, takadim, tadim, katakata, taragadim, taketa, takadim, tadikata, dim, takadim, tadikata, taragadim, taketa, takadim, tadikata. Dim dim takadim tadik takada tarigdim takita takadim tadik takadim dim takadim tadik takadim tadik takada dik takada dik takadim takadim kujud takadim kujud takadim kujud tadik tangada tarigda takadim takada tarigda 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 dik takada tarigda 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 tarigda
Hello and welcome. My name is Asaf, and I'm here with Master Mridangamist and Ghatam player Prathap Ramachandra. Thank you, Prathap, for joining us today. Appreciate your time, especially in these troubled times.
Yes.
So, Prathap, I want you, instead of me trying to give you an introduction, if you can just talk a little bit about yourself, your instrument, how you started, when did you start, where are you from, and all the rest of it.
Thank you, Asaf. It's a pleasure to be on your channel here. My music name is Prathap Ramachandra, and I come from Bangalore, south of India, and I did my music study as well in Bangalore. I started to perform at a very young age. My first performance was in All India Radio, AIR, what they call it as, All India Radio. And at the age of 2.5, I was 2.5 years old. Baby.
Wow, that's really, really young.
Yeah.
Did you play the Mridangam or the...
No, it was an interesting story. My brother had a competition, Bangalore Prakash Ramachandra. He also lives in UK and also plays on the same instruments that I play on. So he had a competition in All India Radio. So my mom took him there. Because I was young, she couldn't leave me back. So she took me also with her. And it so happened that when my brother went into the audition room, I started to cry a lot, saying that I also want to go, I also want to go. And then the station director came out saying that, why is he crying so much? He said that, no, he says that he also wants to play. So then station director came and said that, oh, he can't play in there, but there is another instrument just in another room. Why don't you just let him sit there and play around with it? And then when he's finished, we can come back. So I went into this room where they had a tabla. And they gave me tabla to play. And then I started to play. And as I was playing, the station director watched me play and said that, oh, wow, this guy's playing fantastic. Can we broadcast what he's playing? And then my mom said, if you think it's good, yeah, go ahead. So that's where it started off. And also this picture of me playing with tabla at 2.5 was also printed in the magazine of All
I would
India
like to
Radio.
see that. I would
Yeah,
like to see that.
I'll send it off. I'll send it off to you. So it was officially recorded that I played tabla at the age of 2.5. So that's my my career as a performer started at 2.5. I started to watch my brother play a lot and copy or imitate what he plays. So that's what is my early memories of my playing. I didn't have a formal training for a very long time. So, but my performance career kicked off very quickly because I was young and I was performing, and people were so curious to see a young boy playing on the mridangam and stuff like that. But most of the time I was just trying to imitate what my brother is doing. So that's how it started off. And at the age of 11, I was given a scholarship from CCRT, Center for Resource and Training, which is in central Delhi, which supports music at the Engage. They give scholarship to study advanced studies and learn and things like that. So I got selected as one of the students to perform and to learn Ghatam. So that's where my formal training started off. And then in the conditions, it said that I had to learn from a formal guru. So that's when I went to my brother's guru, who is K.N. Krishnamurthy, who is late now, passed away a few years ago. But again, a Ghatam player who has played for more than 2-3 generations of musicians across the world. So I went to him and started to train under him for 5-6 years. My performance career was still going hand in hand. As I was learning, I was also performing. So that's went hand in hand for me. The most inspiring for music came in when I was in my late teens. That's when I was in my university, second year of university. That's when it really started to buzz me out. And what buzzed me out was also quite interesting. I had finished my university, and between university and starting my career, we had a big gap. So we are all confused, trying to see what all we can do. I'm also qualified as a software programmer. And
wow.
Yeah, I have got a degree in my accounts and stuff. So trying to juggle a lot of things at the same time. I'm sure it's the same case with most of us. So, we were 6 young musicians who got together and framed a band on percussion. And the whole band was on percussion. And that's what got me really into the practice mode. And they were fantastic musicians from Bangalore. And we used to practice quite a lot because we had a lot of time. We didn't have anything else to do. So every time we would find somebody else's house, because making noise in one house is quite painful. So one day we would find my friend's house, another day we would find my cousin's house, we'll go to another friend's house and things like that. So we would juggle around. And it so happened that we ran out of spaces, and my friends who knew another friend said that there is a temple which is out of Bangalore, and that closes at 9 o'clock. And from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, next day 5 o'clock, there's nobody there in the temple, and it is quite in the outside of Bangalore. So you can use that space if you want. So we were like, oh yeah, that's fantastic. And we would start 9:30 at night, go there, reach there around 10:30, and start practicing up till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, incredible! That's quite a commitment for young teenagers.
And exactly, and I think that's what's the inspiration. It was everybody coming from the same age group and trying to create something new. And there were phenomenal musicians in the band. Of course, I worked also with BC Manjunath. He was also part of our band. So the ideas that came out was fantastic and mind-blowing ideas. So which got me more into practice and formal training. So that was my inspiration to get into music full time.
You know, I met you quite a long time ago in London. So obviously you made the move from Bangalore to London. And I'd like you to tell me about that move, what it was like for you, you know, of course, in terms of music, but also, on the social level as well. I'm sure that, Bangalore and London are very socially, culturally very, very different places. So how did you experience that move?
I came into London for the first time in 97, I think, 97, 98, something like that. I came for a very short period, for 4 months or something like that. I came for a few shows and then went back. And then again, I did my second trip in 99 for a project which was happening in Yorkshire. It was a 4 months project. So I stayed for 6 months, but traveling all in Yorkshire doing this dance project. That's when one of my sponsor, the future sponsor whom I met in London when I was playing a concert in Bharati Vidya Bhavan, he came and saw me there, my performance, and then spoke to me about his interest of me having in his organization to teach. So I was also young and wanted to come out and explore the world. My brother was already here by then. So that gave me a little bit more boost to come. And then he said that, would you be interested to teach in our institution? That's when I came here in 2000 permanently to teach in the London Tamil Center, which is in Wembley.
Of course, yeah.
So, and so there, Dr. Nityanandan is the one who brought me here, and the rest from then on, I'm here for nearly 20 years now. It was quite difficult initially, culturally, and the most important thing that I missed was family and friends. So. And of course, my music friends, when I said friends, is music friends and music. So that intense practice and jamming up sessions with my music colleagues. So those are the things which I really missed, and I miss it even till date. So, which is, but saying that when I moved into this country, a new array of opportunities opened up for me. So I really enjoyed that path of my new ventures in music. So from 2000 onwards, I started to teach and perform and play around and a lot of venues. And that's when I got to bump into you and then
Yes.
Make some good music.
Yes. And you teach at the Tamil Center in Wembley.
I used to teach. I stopped a while ago. I taught there for nearly 10 years. And then I started to travel quite a lot for my performances, so which became a problem with my commitment with teaching, because that was teaching is a very big commitment. So you need to really focus and be committed to do that. And because I was traveling so much, I couldn't dedicate myself so much to teaching. That's when I had to choose between either performance or teaching. And then I love performing. So I said, I'm going to take chances with performance. And I stopped London Tamil Center. But I do my own private classes and Skype classes at the moment.
It's always a fine balance, isn't it? For one hand, you really want to perform, but it's also nice to impart, to give something to younger generations. Once you had all that experience of touring and performing that much time, you really also want to give something back as well.
Definitely.
It's always a balance, isn't it? It's always a balance.
Yeah. And you perfectly said that, because you have gathered so much of experience collaborating with different musicians, performing in wide, varied work. It's nice to share that with all different levels of musicians, young, and of course with my own colleagues when we are performing on stage. So, which is nice and interesting. I love that as well. So it's, as you say, it's a fine balance between performance and teaching, which is quite difficult to do that.
It's a fine and refined. We need to always refine that balance as well. I think with time as well, it's different as well. So
True,
it's
true.
always a refining balance. You can
Yeah,
say.
true. And we always, I mean, that's another good part of performing is that you always get to do something new, think something new, and also teach something new.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's what I love about that
Yeah, yes,
one.
yes. Let's talk about a little bit about your approach and your and about Konnakol and about South Indian rhythm a little bit more in depth here. Uh, one of the things that you earlier on when we started playing alluded me to is the importance of the groove element in the music, in the South Indian rhythm, and we all know that Konnakol and South Indian rhythm, it can be very, very complex and very daunting to, especially for even professional Western musicians. And a lot of Western people are kind of, including myself as well, are kind of looking up to that and saying, "Wow, I would like to be able to do some of that." But in your case, I'm really thankful for you alluding this to me earlier on. There is such an important aspect of the groove element in that music. It's so important and so basic and so profound. Could you speak about the importance of that element in the music, or maybe even if you could give us some Konnakol examples, or maybe examples even with your instrument of some
Yeah.
of those grooves and why they are so important?
My journey has been a very interesting one. I've been always been collaborating with very interesting musicians and all different genres of music, not just Carnatic, but I've been able to jam with Western musicians like you, and I've been playing with a lot of Indian classical dance, and of course, a lot of the dance forms as well, like Indonesian Balinese dance, contemporary dance, rock music. And you name the genre, I've always been part of that. I love that exploration of my own art form into different one. When I started to collaborate with these different art forms, what interested me was the grooves. So the first thing that hits you when you're collaborating with different art forms is the grooves. However, the complex the Carnatic music is, but what makes the other art form interesting is that grooves. When you hear the drum kit, so this is so catchy. So this started to click in my mind to think, how can we make our art form approachable, accessible? Of course, complexity is one aspect of it, but it also has different characteristic. It's not just complexity. It is not just maths behind it, but also the music behind it. So once when you break down the complexities into the simplest form, that's when you start to understand the importance of the music. And once when you microscopically look into the beats, then you see these grooves. That's when it started to interest me into the grooves. A simple example, I'll just demonstrate how a complex number can become a simple groove. 9 7 5 5 3. Okay, so let's take this combination. So the 9 goes as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 1 2 3. This is the combination. So I do it once again. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 1 2 3. Boom. Okay. Now, if you just look at this as numbers, it looks plain numbers. Now, when you start to play around with this, then you start to get different accents and different sounds. So now let's transcribe this into Konnakkol. So 9 is said as taka dimmi taka takita taka dimmi takita taka takita taka takita takita takita. Okay. Taka dimmi taka takita taka dimmi takita taka takita taka takita takita takita. So let's start to play around with this. I'm going to give you a simple few grooves, and then I will explain what I'm going to do. Taka timbi taka takita taka timbi takita taka takita taka takita 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 dum 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 ta ta dum 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 ta ta dum 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 ta ta and then it goes, we can start to play around with this. So what was interesting is that then we start to take nuances of the numbers and play around with it. So you just say the first word, 1, 2, 3, 4. In 9, ta, 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 dum, dum, ta, 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 dum, dum. So I'm just saying the first ones there. So which on its own feels groovy. So there's so many things which makes it more interesting, things like that. Once when you get to play around with the numbers, then a complete new ocean of rhythms starts to work. So this is the beauty of Konnakkol. 1, 2, 3. The exact of if we break it down into different syllables and see what it sounds like, is then you come out with some beautiful. I did a very interesting project recently with a spoken artist from Croydon called Amin. A wonderful spoken artist. So spoken artist means that it's almost like a rap, but they talk about the current affairs, they talk about the spiritual connections, the connection between the spirituality, the ourself to the materialistic world, and things like that. So it's beautiful. And then again, like how the rhythm is flowing within me, the words flow from them. So which is beautiful. So we did a collaboration with that. And then I gave groove, and we started to play around with this collaboration. 2 cycles of Adi Tala. 1, 2, ti, tati, takati, 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 tati, tati, kitakati, tatin, kitakati, tati, kitakati. Okay, so the groove starts from there. So it goes ti, tati, takati, 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 tati, tati, kitakati. Tadim kitakudim, tate targadum, tum, tatum, takatum, takitatum, takadatum, tati kitakutum, tatum kitakutum, tate targadum.
So basically, you've got like an expanding line with if I'm not mistaken, a gap of 4 between each repetition.
Exactly. So we start from 4. Diyo, tadiyo, takadiyo, takitatiyo, takadinatiyo, tadiginatumdiyo, tadinginatumdiyo, tatinginatumdim. So again, if you just break down into numbers, it is just basic 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, basically the same thing. But when you add these sounds onto it, it sounds completely different. And this was a part of a project called the Croydon Composers, which happened 2 years ago. And we did also record the piece. I'll try and share that with you at some point of time, just to give you a glimpse of how it sounds. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful mix on that one. Again, as I said, that I had very fortunate to be in London to work with some of the phenomenal collaborations that I've done with dance and music. When you work with some real good musicians, you really get to see the quality of work and also to understand your art form more deep and also see the similarities between your art form and the other art form. Because number is universal wherever you go. As percussionists, we'll never have any problems collaborating with anybody because my 3 is your 3, your 4 is my 4. It's the same thing. It's just the way how you express it is different. But other than that, the numbers are the same thing. So which is very fascinating to see. And that also makes it easy for us to collaborate as percussionists.
You know, one other thing I wanted to ask you is about your work with dance groups. And, you know, in my channel, we speak a lot about the Konnakkol, and the Konnakkol, obviously the Konnakkol that I'm kind of trying to get across is a very simple form of rhythmic syllables. That's all it is. And has not much to do with the Mridangam instrument or the Ghatam, because most of my listeners are not Mridangamists or Ghatam players. But I know that in the traditional South Indian dance, they have a special kind of Konnakkol, special kind of syllables that are slightly different than the instrumental Mridangam syllables. Could you speak about that and maybe clear some confusion? I definitely wanted to know a little bit more about that difference and how they feed off each other, those two traditions.
I started to perform for dance quite late. I think I would say in 2004, 2005 is when I really got interested into playing for dance. Dance form on itself is like constantly there's some change happening on the stage all the time. So which means that then that gives you an opportunity to keep constantly changing what you're doing. So that was quite interesting for me to see and find a way to keep changing what you're doing without disturbing the dance. So it was quite challenging. But I really loved playing for dance. And the second part of what interested me to play for the dance is that what you said, the intricacies, what they call it as jatis, what we call as Konnakkol. In Bharatanatyam, the same syllables, similar patterns of syllables, and more is introduced as jatis.
And just to make this clear, Bharatanatyam is the form of South Indian dance.
Yes, there are very unique syllables which we have borrowed from the dance, I can say. I mean, it has always been an exchange. It's not, oh, this is mine, this is yours. It's never been that. It is always ours. So it is, that's how it's always worked. Say, for example, Janna kitta kirra kitta takkidu tikkudu takatari kitta taka. So, Janna kitta kirra kitta takkidu tikkudu takatari kitta taka. So this is one of a line that comes in the jati, which I'm sure, I mean, you've been doing Konnakkol for a while now. I think probably you would have not heard sounds like this.
No, and actually I find it quite aesthetically pleasing. It's very different and it's got something very special about it too.
Yeah. So And so they've borrowed a lot of sounds from the nature as well, because dance is again a visual aspect. So there are a lot of aspects which is imitated from the sounds of the nature. So which has been borrowed. So janna kitta, kirra kitta is not used in traditional Konnakol.
That's right.
Yeah. So so things like this are very, very nice and unique about the Bharatanatyam. And there are plenty more like this. The same with North Indian dance as well, the Kathak. After coming into UK, I was fortunate to play and listen to some of the Kathak recitals as well. I recently played for a Rangamanch, which is called as a debut performance in Kathak. I played Mridangam, which is, that's wonderful about, it's happening everywhere, but it's wonderful about London is that there's so much of collaborations of interesting work happening. So in Kathak as well, they borrow a lot from the nature sounds. Nakki tarri kukku taka taka, nakki tarri kukku traka traka janaka janaka traka taka jijikita dhilangu tumukita takata jijikita takata. So there's so much resemblance to the nature. Nakki tarri kukku traka traka. So all these are sounds that has been borrowed from.
It's like you're taking a walk out in nature and you're hearing all these sounds, isn't it?
Yes. There's an interesting video on the YouTube. Biju Maharaj, Pandit Biju Maharaj, he is talking about this nature sound. So he's composed a lot of this sound and collaborated with today's life. He's done compositions on telephone ringing. He's had conversations with a husband and wife having an argument, things like that. But also they had, traditionally, they also have some fantastic compositions, very traditional compositions, which is based on the nature. I have a good friend of mine who plays tabla, whom you know as well, Kaushik Sen, who lives in Liverpool. So whenever we meet, we keep discussing about music. Of course, that's the time that we talk a lot about music. So he was saying that there's a lot of composition which talks about how the deer is jumping and how the elephants are fighting and the tiger and the lion fight. So all these things is being imitated into the sounds of Konnakkol and even in North India and even in South India. I think it's more in North India when compared to South India. So this has opened up a lot of ideas. Again, thanks to my collaboration work, which I've got to explore a lot with wonderful musicians that I've met, like you and many more.
Fantastic. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. That cleared a lot of confusion in my head about some of those syllables, and I understand a little bit better now where this is all coming from.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, my channel is mostly about rhythmic exercises for Western musicians using Konnakol, but I also want, of course, to acquaint the Western audience with the Konnakol and, expose people who are otherwise not exposed to it to the beauty and the lyricism of that rhythmic of those rhythmic patterns, and like you said, the grooves as well.
Yeah.
Could you give us a small, simple exercise? Rhythmic exercise using Konnakol?
Very simple exercise I'm going to give you. This is in Aditala. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So instead of 4, now I'm going to use takadimi, takadimi. Okay. At the end of the cycle, I'm going to twist that one into a tadigina tomar takatakita to see what happens. Takadimi, 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 takadim. taka dimmi taddi kinna tom taka dimmi 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 taddi kinna tom taka dimmi taka dimmi taka dimmi ka dimmi taka dimmi taka dimmi taddi. So every time what is happening is the interesting part of this, what I'm doing is how to count this. So I'm going taka dimmi, tuka dimmi, 3 dimmi, 4 dimmi, 5 dimmi, 6 dimmi, 7 dimmi. It has got 8 beats. On the 8th one, instead of fitting a 4, I'm fitting a 5. Tadikina tom. Then the tom becomes the 1. Then the takadimi starts to push every time.
1/16 later on.
Yeah. Yes. So every time you see one alphabet coming, one after the other, one after the other. So first time, so you hear tak. So taka dimmi, then it starts to come. Second cycle, taka dimmi, di starts to come on the cycle. Then you say taka dimmi will start. Taka dimmi, starts to come. So it's quite an interesting way to practice a simple laya like this. Taka dimbi, 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 tadi kinda, taka dimbi, taka dimbi, taka dimbi, taka dimbi, taka dimbi, taka dimbi, dimbi, tadi kinda, taka dimbi, 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 tadi kinda, taka dimbi, 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 tadi kinda, taka dimbi. Follow this groove until you meet takadimi. The takadimi comes until this. So that keeps you a nice tempo to practice something. So which is not flowy all the time, but a little twist. Every now and then you off and then you come back. You go off and you come back. That's what we love about Carnatic music, isn't it? We never want to walk straight. We are always like
yeah, the displacement is really fascinating.
Yeah. And similar exercises like let's take what I did, the 9-7-5-5-3-3. I did taka dimmi taka takita taka dimmi takita taka takita taka takita takita takita. Okay, so we did. It's a very simple one. Now you can start to play around with the same thing using a different combination now. What happens, you'll see a little stretch and a pull here. I'll tell you what it is, and probably you would have showed this in your channel as well, but I'm going to just explain. Taka dimmi, taka takita, taka dimmi, takita, taka takita, taka takita, takita, takita. So it is again a 5-5-3-3 what I did. But 5-5 is now I'm changing the whole block of 5 into one beat. So 5-5-3-3 instead of making it as a 4-on-5, 3-on-4.
Basically changing the nadai or the subdivision.
Correct. Changing the nade or the subdivision. What we call it as nade. Taka dimmi, taka takita, taka dimmi, takita. Up till here the subdivisions are all going 4-4-4-4-4. Now the subdivision becomes 5. Taka takita, taka takita, takita, takita. So tempo is not changing. It's only you who is trying to push and pull with this one. So then if you want to play around with this one, then it becomes very interesting. Taka dimmi, taka takita, taka dimmi, takita, taka takita, takita, taka takita, takita, taka dimmi, taka takita, taka dimmi, takita, 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 taka takita, taka takita, taka dimmi, takita, taka dimmi, takita, takita, taka takita, takita, taka takita, taka dimmi, taka takita. And then you can reverse the whole section from putting the 5 and 3 in the front and 9 and 7 on the other end. Taka takita, taka takita, 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 taka dimmi, takita, taka dimmi, takita, taka dimmi, taka takita, taka dimmi, taka takita, taka dimmi, taka dimmi, taka takita. So I'm starting from 5-5-3-3 and now going into 9. Taka takita, taka takita, taka takita, 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 taka dimmi, taka takita, taka dimmi, taka takita, taka dimmi, takita, taka dimmi, takita. What you can do is you can keep the talam constant, not slowing it down. I only slowed it down to show you how the number is fit, but you fit in exactly for the tempo. Then how do we practice this? The best one is to do it with the metronome. Always practice it with the metronome, which gives you the accurate clicking timing for you to focus on.
And especially when you are changing the die or the subdivisions, I think it really helps to have a reference point from a metronome click.
Yes, perfectly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, 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 ta,
That's a good one.